Welcome back to the channel and to another episode of Outside the Tub. And today we are discussing whether Roger Penske's ownership of IndyCar has been a success so far. Well, to start off with, again, a little bit of, I suppose not background to this one, setting the scene is probably a better description of this one. So, Roger Penske, I guess in terms of ownership of a series or being involved in the management of the series, this isn't his first time at the rodeo, so to say, as he was one of the key influencers in the break from USAC in the formation of CART. CART, maybe kind of, I think, widely would be argued was the best period in IndyCar's history for competitiveness and just where the series was in terms of global size. I think in terms of its expansion, was doing fantastic there. Obviously, that all fell apart and going from there. Roger himself is the most successful kind of team owner in IndyCar history, with the record number of Indy 500 victories and championship wins as a team owner. And I think as a team, they have over 200 victories in this series as well, which is pretty damn impressive. But it was at the back end of 2019, Roger secured his new stewardship of the IndyCar series. What he didn't account for was COVID-19 coming on in 2020, making it a very difficult, almost baptism of fire for Roger Penske to kind of deal with in that. 2021 has been his first full season, I suppose, from there. And then 2022, we've got a lot of things in place coming down the line in terms of, well, we discussed like video games, sponsorship deals, and, you know, potentially other things in the works as well. But we thought this might be an interesting time to discuss whether his stewardship of the series has been a success so far. So, Stephen, where do you want to kick off in this debate?
Discussion. Well, we'll go through. Obviously, we're going to tread a line that some things you could say is all Penske. He's only been in charge of the series, like I said, 2 years basically. And some things maybe more naturally have occurred, not necessarily due to his leadership, but we're just going to kind of cover everything that's happened in his 2 years and kind of go from there. So let's kick off with, shall we say, the calendar. Obviously, starting in 2020, his first year, with all the COVID restrictions, lockdowns, whatnot, to come up with how many races did we end up having?
We ended up having a 14 race season.
Yeah. Which is pretty incredible.
Well, considering I think the original calendar was around 17 races.
Yeah. It was a pretty outstanding work. And then obviously we had this year, I guess the only main thing about the calendar for Penske and for some fans is the lack of ovals. But obviously going into 2022, we have 5 confirmed oval races in the doubleheader Iowa, Texas, Gateway, and 500.
Yeah, that little one.
The last one, the little one. So that's about nearly a third of the calendar is now ovals. So he's kind of bringing them back because obviously 2020, we only had 3.
Yeah.
You know, only having 3 races on ovals.
Well, we had 4 because we had a double header at Texas.
Okay.
And Gateway obviously was there, and then obviously the Indy 500.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess only one stage improvement. But the return of Iowa, another short oval track, is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. And then obviously we've had Nashville Grand Prix, one of his new debuts on his control stewardship, you described it as, which was, even though the race, question marks over the track and the quality of the race, the actual whole event seemed a massive success, at least from the outside perspective and hearing people's opinions as well, who were there. And then we've also got the announcement of the Detroit CGP, but that comes in a couple of years' time. But yeah, he's making moves on the calendar, bringing in new tracks. Looks like he's got a bit of a focus on city tracks to kind of rejuvenate kind of places. And yeah.
Or just kind of have places that host big events. So taking IndyCar to where new eyes may see it. Obviously, Nashville has the oval race there, which IndyCar had raced at before, but Nashville is a big tourist destination.
Yeah.
So if you're around on the Nashville thing and it's on the streets in Nashville, then naturally you're going to be like, oh, what's that? I'll have a look, go from there. And it might bring extra hype around it as well as obviously people wanting to go to Nashville and be a part of it anyway as IndyCar fans.
Yeah. So kind of rounding up the calendar, he's brought on, like I said, another oval, bringing in a couple new GPs. Yeah, I see he's done an all right job with the oval. Obviously, with the calendar. 2020 was a tough one, but managed to get 14 races.
Yeah, look, you can't be too critical of the calendar in 2020 because just getting a full season with all the COVID restrictions and everything that go around there. Obviously, I think we ended up having like 4 races, didn't we, on the Indy road course? Because we had 2 Harvest GPs, the double-header weekend with NASCAR and the start of it as well. Yeah. So a little bit kind of crazy. Was it 3 in the end? I can't remember. But we seem to always be at the Indy road course. Doubleheader at Mid-Ohio, which didn't really, I think, go down too well. Was there a doubleheader at Road America? Yes, there was. Go from there. So there were a lot of doubleheaders, but that was a smart idea. If they knew a venue was going to be able to host a race, you might as well smack 2 into a weekend because you can guarantee you don't want to necessarily go back there later in the season, other than obviously Indianapolis Motor Speedway, because that's a bit of a hub within the series.
Yeah. And he kind of owns that.
Yeah. Look, you kind of give him a free pass on that. That wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
In terms of it. You go 2021, I would say it was a cautious calendar. And I don't blame him either, because obviously places across the world, it's been up and down. It might have had a bigger impact, even at stages. Obviously, we had to move Long Beach to the last race of the season from its usual spot at the kind of start of the calendar due to COVID. Toronto was a 17 race calendar in 2021, but obviously went to 16 because Toronto was cancelled due to COVID. So being cautious on there wasn't too bad. 2022 looks more a step in the right direction.
Yeah, pretty good.
And building on that, it was the return of Iowa, nice with Hy-Vee sponsorship to kind of bring that back on. Because I think oval racing is something so unique to IndyCar. I know, obviously, as an open wheel series, obviously NASCAR are very oval dominant as well, and you have the strong dirt racing scene as well.
Yeah.
Dirt ovals. But, you know, for IndyCar, it's a unique aspect of that series as an open wheel series to be going on ovals, road courses and street courses. So it should never kind of lose that. I guess it's just gaining, I think Scott always says in the comments, the main reason with IndyCar is obviously not necessarily going more gung-ho on ovals, is because it's harder to hide poor attendance on an oval. It's very obvious.
True.
You see the big stands. And I think, like we've said, the Indy 500 was a very obvious kind of empty arena in 2020.
Yeah.
You did notice the stark contrast from 2020 to 2021, and there wasn't even full capacity in this year. So 2022, that's going to be a blast. That is going to be incredible seeing full capacity return to the greatest spectacle in racing.
Yeah. But I think it's time for the next one.
Yeah, so I guess going on that from calendar, let's talk a little bit more financial. So the NBC deal ran out. basically with IndyCar at the end of this season, and NBC was shutting down its sports network. And they have their streaming service, Peacock, and they also have USA Network under their bracket. So it was obviously down to Roger Penske of would he stick with NBC? Would he find another provider? Would he go on a streaming service working with one of the big boys like an Amazon or Netflix? And so on. He negotiated the deal with NBC, upgrading it from, I believe, 9 races on network TV to 13, which is huge. Really big deal in terms of not putting IndyCar behind a paywall, making it access, meaning that it's easy for people to watch. And if it's easier for people to watch, you're more likely going to pick up new fans because they're not having hard search. Where it does get a little bit complicated is they will be split over NBC and USA Network, and then 2 races are exclusively on the streaming service of Peacock. And if you want to really follow the series, you're going to have Peacock anyway, because qualifying and practices, I believe, will be exclusively on the Peacock streaming service, and Indy Lights will also be exclusively on Peacock. So yeah, we went from there. ESPN was pretty much out the water pretty early doors. They weren't offering as much as what NBC were offering to kind of keep IndyCar. So you're not going to take less money
exactly
for a deal there. CBS didn't have any room for it. So it was already difficult going from there. Making your own TV network, which was kind of rumoured and that would be really difficult to get out the blocks because you're
going to have a drop in viewership.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they're like, what's the IndyCar network?
Yeah.
It'd be cool that you could have a whole channel dedicated to IndyCar and the content possibilities, and that could be endless, but it's not what IndyCar needed right now.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And with the streaming, apparently Amazon were very interested in it, but going exclusively to streaming service, does that isolate some fans? I know a lot of people are in the Prime Netflix, and I suppose Disney Plus now comes in as a Prime streaming service as well. Go from there. So yeah, it would have been tricky. I think keep getting on network TV, having a better deal than what they originally had with NBC, more races on network. Overall, it looks a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
The financials aren't out. The deal is rumoured to be about 2024, so the extension isn't necessarily there. So kind of a 3-year deal. But yeah, overall positives, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. Getting more races on network, always going to be a positive for viewership figures. And yeah, I think, yes, going full streaming on Amazon Prime, you're going to lose some of your audience there. I think this was the best outcome not to see a drop in viewership. Because through the season, we were constantly getting, this is the highest viewership since there. This is an increase in viewership from there, which was good. It means the NBC and IndyCar were working together as a partnership in terms of getting it together. So, I think it was a building one. The negatives, what you can say is for American viewers, obviously we get practice as much as it can do, and qualifying is always on Sky Sports for us who have the deal with NBC. But obviously we don't get to watch Indy Lights on that basis. But if you're an American viewer watching that, Peacock is the limit. And I know Peacock had a bit of issues taking off full race highlights at a stage. So that was a little bit of controversial with NBC. They did turn it around. They worked with that to amend it, which was a pretty quick turnaround, I'd say. Within a day or two of complaints, it was kind of turned around. If I got that wrong, obviously mention in the comments through there. But Peacock only has 33 million subscribers. We'll go from there. You say only, that's still a decent amount.
It's a lot. It's a lot. But if we're talking about reaching people, but I guess IndyCar fans will sign up to Peacock and so increase that viewership.
I don't see that as a massive negative on Peacock.
But maybe reaching new fans if there's like 2 exclusive.
I guess, yeah.
Because
then
Amazon
you've only got qualifying.
Amazon and Netflix are around the 200 million mark, and Disney Plus is 100 million.
Yeah.
So in comparison to the big boys, they are way behind.
But obviously the hands are tied going in with NBC, getting network. Yeah. They had to go with Peacock. And it's only 2 races and qualifying on Peacock. So for new fans coming into it, the most interesting thing for them is going to be the actual race. Yeah.
Once they get involved and invested in it, they might get a subscription, which I don't know. I think it's probably around the $8.99 a month thing. It may be slightly more, but it's around, that's the kind of average bracket, isn't it, for streaming services through there. And you can get lots of other kind of fun streaming things with it, I'm sure.
But overall positive.
Yeah. Okay. Next one.
That's me. Next one. I'm going to go video game. The video game's announced with, I keep forgetting their names. Who's making it?
I think it's just Motorsports.
Motorsports. Them. For 2023?
Yeah.
First IndyCar game? Oh, I should have checked this. In a long time.
I think since around 2005.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. I don't think there was one in the 2010s. Basically, it's been a long time coming.
Yes, basically, yeah. They've had a few mods. I know iRacing have IndyCars in that. But first proper, fully licensed IndyCar game. It just opens up a whole new audience for them. We've seen how massive the growth in F1 has been. With EA even buying up Codemasters who make the game and taking control of that. It's just massive, the gaming industry, and for IndyCar, younger audience, it's a massive positive, I think, a big coup for them. And like I say, we're not sure. I feel like it is largely the input of Penske Entertainment Corporation that made the move, and I think it's a massive positive in growing the audience of IndyCar and also bringing more money into IndyCar.
Regardless if it was in place already, they got the deal done.
Yeah,
over the line.
Yeah,
in terms of it, I don't think it was secured prior to the Penske stewardship.
Well, yeah, because it was like a year and a half into them owning the series. Because wasn't it announced this year?
Yeah, it was announced this year. Okay, for now. Whether you like it or not, gaming has become a massive part of the world. And what also it opens up to is streamers. So YouTube, Twitch have become massive streaming platforms for people playing the game, and it's become a popular culture thing that people will watch people playing video games. All right. So on that basis, guys, if they start streaming IndyCar games, are going to go, oh, they're like, what's this? What's this IndyCar series? Might translate to actually watching the real thing.
Yeah.
Or if not, you get a large audience kind of doing it. They may not immediately come, but if they keep getting excited and enjoy playing it because they enjoy playing racing games, naturally down the line, they're probably going to check out the series.
Yeah, exactly.
And for motorsports as a whole, a key demographic of doing is getting younger fans involved.
Yeah.
And video games is a massive one to kind of encourage that next generation of racing fans in, because it is such a digital world and what they kind of go in. I sound like such an old man.
The only thing is, they need to make sure they don't screw it up. Because we've seen with NASCAR, with their latest game, Ignition, which made by the same people who are making the next IndyCar game, got a lot of negative press because it was slightly broken. Don't know all the details, seen a couple of videos, it just seemed like a bit of a mess on release. They need to make sure they kind of get it right. It may not be absolutely incredible, they just need to make sure it isn't broken as hell.
Yeah.
Because then that kind of brings more negative, especially as your first game, you need to nail it, otherwise people are going to be immediately switched off the series.
Not even nail it, I would just say competent.
Yeah.
Give hope. All fans want to do, or kind of young kids want to do, is go and imagine themselves winning the Indy 500. And they may not have the talent or, funding to have gone out on go-karts or whatever, but they've got an Xbox, they've got a PlayStation, they can spend $40 on the game or whatever it's going to come out price range, and they can lap round and they can beat Scott Dixon, they can beat Alexander Rossi, and they can go, yes, I've won the Indy 500 virtually against a computer.
On easy settings.
But they did it. Don't take it away from them. This is their moment. But yeah, in terms of I think in favour of that company, NASCAR Ignition went bad, but I do believe they run like a virtual Le Mans series, and that is pretty successful. So it swings and roundabouts. Yeah. That one just was a kind of rebranding of the franchise, wasn't it? From Heat to Ignition. Yeah, it wasn't great.
Yeah.
But
I just had a thought.
Yeah.
When the game comes out, I feel like we're going to have to do like a marathon stream and do the full 200 laps. The 500.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll just dedicate...
Spend 4 hours.
We'll dedicate a weekend. We'll do qualifying proper as well. Yeah. Sit through that. We'll do it over 2 weekends. That'll be good fun for, I think, people to watch and see. God, we might have to get it on PC and rig up a steering wheel or something from there. But we'll come to that when it comes in 2023. We got time to plan.
See, it's exciting.
Yes.
But yeah, gaming, big positive there.
I guess last one, probably in terms of growth of the series, is this. We're seeing a steady growth of cars within the series. Teams looking to expand their entries. I know Team Penske themselves have reduced that, but I think he ideally wants to run a 3-car team. But you've got Ganassi, a 4-car team. You've got Andretti, a 4-car team. You've got Hunko's Hollinger Racing returning to the series with a rumoured merger with Carlin. Details of that, I'm sure, will emerge, potentially being 2 cars. We've had Top Gun Racing appear. Meyer Shank continue to build and now becoming a 2-car team as well. And yeah, it's really exciting seeing more teams going. And from the Music City GP, it was the highest entries in a kind of Grand Prix outside the Indy 500 since 2013.
Yeah.
So that was a big positive step in the right direction. And I think the Indy GP also had that. And I think the tail end of the season also had a high number of entries. I want to say Laguna Seca and Portland also had a pretty high entry list for now. I can't remember off the top of my head from that basis. So that is a positive. Whether that is Penske related.
This is where the fine line comes. Is it organic, natural growth? Or is it more Penske's input with his talks with these teams, bringing up deals or whatnot? Yeah.
Yeah, because relatively, it's a pretty cheap, top-level open-wheel series to run, even at a basic level.
Yeah.
I mean, we are talking in the millions still, which is stupid money to the majority of people. Like, most people won't earn $1 million in their lifetime. But in the world of sports and motorsports as well, when things cost money to make and build, it isn't too much, I hesitate to say. Talking about millions as not being too much type of it. It's like going, when a football player, he's only worth 2 million. Only? But yeah, so it's different one. But I guess it has continued to move in a positive direction. It hasn't gone backwards under Penske stewardship. Kept things cheap. The aero screen introduction has gone all right. And obviously the building of the chassis, rumoured it's in the place. And obviously the new hybrid engine coming in 2023 introduction as well. So everything's moving it then, but keeping it at cost cuts. It looks like it's going well.
Yeah.
In terms of that.
Yeah. I guess the final point is Indy Lights. Obviously, the news coming out this year that Penske are taking over the Indy Lights series. bring that under the fold, bring a closer connection between the top of the ladder of the IndyCar ladder, Road to Indy, and the obviously IndyCar, which is great because that's got to mean there's going to be more opportunities for the juniors coming through that series to get rides in the main series, or you know, easier routes, clearer routes for them. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say maybe it encourages, because the main issue, I think Michael Andretti's been critical of it as well, in terms of, because Andretti Autosport have their team in Indy Lights. Yeah. Maybe with it kind of coming under the IndyCar bracket, I know the teams are still separate from that, but maybe there will be some sort of incentive in terms of increasing the grid size in Indy Lights for having a McLaren junior team in there, having because obviously Schmidt Motorsports, you know, traditionally have done pretty well within the junior series. They're maybe having a Rahal one, having a Team Penske one, and so therefore guys get affiliated, and you know it provides a close link and a clear career direction path, Indy Lights to IndyCar.
Yeah, which is great. It's great. The only thing is the Freedom 100 is gone missing since 2020. No one found in 2021, and apparently it's still hidden and lost in 2022.
Where is it? But if you haven't checked it out, obviously we did a reaction, I think, to like closest Freedom 100 finishes, which were like mental. Especially in the 2010s, I think was a really kind of high period for, you know, that race at it. It gave something for fans attending. I think Carb Day, it was traditionally on.
Basically, if you're new and you're not sure what the Freedom 100 is, it's a race for the Road to Indy around the Indianapolis 500. But it's 100 miles rather than 500 miles.
Yeah.
So, that's what it is.
It's a mini version, run on Carb Day. It's great for there, but also it's great for the drivers to get the experience of driving at the Indy 500. But I feel like talks, this may be wrong in terms of that, but I feel like Roger Penske wanted to make the Indy 500 because it is such a special event. So not having other series run on it things. Yeah. So that's obviously when NASCAR went onto the road course rather than running the Brickyard 400. The Freedom 100 not running. So the Indy 500 is the only race on the oval setup in the year.
Yeah.
Which I get. Adds to the exclusivity of it, special to it. You have to watch IndyCar to watch an oval race at one of the most historic speedways in the US, in the world, largest motorsport venue in the world with over 400,000. Something special. People want to be a part of that. And if it's exclusively IndyCar's thing, I get the concept behind going from there. But as Indy Lights is part of IndyCar, and it's a junior series, I think it was just a really cool event.
Yeah. And it's a great platform for youngsters to go, hey, I can run well here. Pick me in your team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, you know, for some teams, the 500 is, well, for basically everyone, it's the most important race of the year. And you can get a seat purely on your performances at the venue. When we were talking to Marshall and it was Chip Ganassi looking at Alex, one of the things that they took a shot on him with was his performance at the 500. How cool he handled it.
Yeah, how he dealt with the pressure of the biggest event and thing. And yeah, you're right. Not everyone has the resources to compete over a season to win the championship. Anyone can win the Indy 500.
Yeah.
It just is such an unpredictable race. And if you get it right over that course of the month, you can walk away with a chance. Look at Meyershank Racing.
Yeah.
Look at Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. And, you know, there's been plenty throughout the history as well of kind of examples of bigger teams winning, little teams winning. But yeah, it's a pretty good thing. And the Freedom 100 gave young drivers the opportunity to go, hey, I'm pretty good here. then, you know, it's worth it.
Exactly.
Well. And it was an exciting race. The finishes were exciting. So that kind of brings entertainment.
And a great racing product.
It is. So I guess we kind of bring it round to conclusion. And I guess the first stage to look at, the easiest kind of benchmark to go from there, is IndyCar in a stronger position now than it was when Roger took over? I would go, yes. TV viewership is on the rise. New deal was negotiated with more money. The IndyCar grid and expansion of the grid is growing and getting bigger. And, you know, more drivers are wanting to kind of come in and show what they've got and compete in the IndyCar series. So for that kind of yardstick as kind of a measurement of it, I would say, yes, it has been a success so far.
Yeah. I can only see, obviously 2020 being his first year was a tough one, but and only being in the series 2 years it feels like there are a lot of positives going forward, and you back Roger to kind of keep building on those. I think everything we covered here, the calendar, new events come into it. We got the video game reaching new audiences, bringing Indy Lights into it. And what was the other one? And entries, viewership, TV deals. They're all positives. So, yeah. I
will, because obviously we've been very pro-Roger, and it's hard not to be pro-Roger with how IndyCar is growing. I think IndyCar, you have to say IndyCar is moving in the right direction. Great racing product. We've just come off the back of one of the best seasons we've had, certainly in recent memory. Wherever you've had a brand new champion in Stoke, you've seen the rise of the young stars. That's obviously not necessarily in Roger's hands, but that's definitely benefited him in terms of the place of where IndyCar is going. That's really positive. A negative would be, obviously, Roger's renowned for getting big name sponsors in. Look, I feel like sponsorship events has gone well, but maybe where some people would have thought Roger could help was IndyCar have been looking, I think, at getting another engine manufacturing or another big name into the series in terms of it. The Ferrari deal was obviously rumoured during this period that Roger Penske's owned the series, and that wasn't able to see the line, and that may not be his fault. He was involved definitely in negotiations personally. Be harsh to probably criticise him for that because Ferrari are Ferrari and they decided to go to the World Endurance Championship and go into hypercars. But that was always probably more what they're going to lean to. F1 is their kind of open wheel series. They have a strong history of endurance racing, especially through the 50s, 60s as well. Going back to their roots was probably always the most likely option in there. And obviously the way that IndyCar is in terms of not freedom of development, it probably wasn't going to appeal to Ferrari. Toyota has been rumoured, but I don't think that is any strong kind of substantial coming in. So the lack of a new manufacturer, whether that be in engine or just competing in the series,
I get that, but he has only been in charge for 2 years.
Those type of deals are mega.
Yeah, he's already overseeing, like we think, it's rumoured a chassis, and then obviously the engine changes. And obviously he's been overseeing the aero screen coming into the series. I think at the moment, 2 years in, I think it's only positives. But yeah, you expect him to build on that. You expect probably another big name to come into the series, a new engine manufacturer maybe, like Toyota, maybe even a Mercedes or one of the German brands.
I think the only other one you can maybe negative is go, would IndyCar have done this anyway? Is this success of where the series is going exclusive to Roger Penske, and how much is in his hands? Arguably, you could say with the drivers that were competing and the drivers the teams were getting, arguably the racing product has been the big win for IndyCar. That's the big that allows him to negotiate kind of good TV deals, that allows to kind of build some hype and maybe kind of go, this is the time with this next young generation of stars that we want to get young guys playing on video games with our young kind of drivers who are excelling within the series at this time. Would this naturally have kind of happened anyway? That's the unknown.
That's the fine line we spoke about at the start. Is it organic or is it Roger? We can only speculate and kind of make assumptions. Yeah.
And oval racing, could there be more? Yes. Is the calendar a bad calendar? No. I didn't watch any races this year and go, I wish this track wasn't on the calendar. I mean, I know some people probably thought it during the Caution Fest at Nashville, but it's a new track. It's going to take time to go from there. The races were pretty compelling throughout the year. You are never going to have full seasons where every race is full on octane action just from start to finish, blitz. That doesn't happen. And also you don't want that to happen, because then that sets the bar so high that when a race isn't quite up to that standard, it can still be a great race, but people are like, oh, this is rubbish.
Yeah.
So it's a good blend of races, I think, in the calendar. And the key races were secured, I think, on that basis. So I think success, yes, is the short answer. Will it continue to be a success?
Critical. That is the critical. If things don't carry on going on an upwards trajectory, that's the word, then you question what's the impact Penske having. But at the moment, everything's all looking very rosy. In Roger we trust.
In Roger we trust. But I think that, as a joke, also is a thing. Because he's so renowned within the series and has such a long-standing thing, because he's respected within the business world, it gives a serious look on IndyCar. They go, that is someone who means business.
Yeah.
All right. And gets stuff done. So therefore, there is naturally a respect towards IndyCar just by having Roger Penske and Penske Entertainment associated with IndyCar.
Yeah.
But that's it. We've taken a long time to discuss that today because I guess, again, we wanted to not rush it. We wanted it to kind of be a good discussion. So it's back over to you guys. What are your thoughts of the Roger Penske stewardship of the IndyCar series? Because he doesn't own it. No one owns IndyCar.
No one owns
You are just a steward for that moment in time to make sure that it is in a better place than when you picked it up.
I just got a picture of the Lord of the Rings guy in Minister.
Denethor.
Yeah. Hopefully Roger doesn't end up on fire running off the Minister.
Let's hope that isn't the case. But yes, good stuff for Roger. That's what we think. What do you think? And if you're new around here and enjoy what we do on the channel and enjoy the image of what Stephen's created, what can they do, Stephen?
They can like, subscribe and ding that bell.
Ding it! And we want more fans like Brent to just be going around random parts of the day just going, ding it! Love that comment, Brent. But yes, for now, you Indy fans, keep racing!